On a Monday afternoon after school, Lucas sat on the bench near his school gate, waiting for his mom, Katie, to pick him up. Katie was an interior designer who shuttled between work and raising her son alone after her husband died of cancer a few years ago. It's going to be 4. Why hasn't Mommy come? Lucas grew tense as he kept checking the time on his wristwatch. He felt something was wrong because Katie had never been late to pick him up. It was 4:30, and the watchman was about to close the gate. Lucas was still sitting there, tears slowly dripping from his eyes, creating little mud spots on the ground. Suddenly, someone tapped his shoulder from behind. Lucas was startled, and from the very pressure of the touch, he could tell it was not his mother. Lucas Parker? Yes, Lucas was surprised when he turned around and saw a tall, stout, middle-aged policeman behind him. "I found the boy," he spoke on the walkie-talkie. "Lucas, please come with me." "Where?" "My mommy will come to pick." Before Lucas could finish talking, the cop took his bag, helped him get up, and said, "Lucas, your mother will not come." "Why won't Mommy come?" "Where's she?" Lucas panicked. The officer didn't know how to answer Lucas. He knew it would break his heart, but he had no choice but to tell him that his mother had met with an accident and died on her way to school. "What are you saying? What happened to my mommy? Please, take me to her. Please. I want to see her," Lucas cried. "I'm sorry, Lucas. Please stay strong. Let's go now." "Go where?" "To the police station. Someone's waiting for you there." The cop drove Lucas to the station, where his Aunt Carla was waiting for him. Lucas had no idea how his life would soon turn into a nightmare. "Lucas, darling, I'm so sorry this happened to you." Carla ran and wrapped her arms around Lucas. "I'll take you home. Please stay strong." Lucas was haunted by seeing his aunt he was not fond of. He knew his mother and Carla never got along well and barely stayed in touch after their relationship turned sour over a property dispute. As Carla drove Lucas home, she recalled the last conversation with Katie. "You stole my house, Katie. I don't understand how our dad could do this to me and bequeath you this whole house," Carla yelled at her sister. "Carla, Dad still paid for your university that you dropped out in the middle. He couldn't pay for me, and that's why he left his house to me. I don't understand why you're so furious. I didn't steal anything. I want to sell it to pay for my education," Katie said. "I don't want to argue with you. Paying for my education was Dad's choice. But this house is ours. I grew up here. It should go to the two of us and not just one. We should divide it equally." Carla argued but was ultimately booted out by Katie. With time, Carla's grudge against Katie became intense. He took his little nephew under his wing not because he loved him, but because Lucas was the only heir to his late brother's property. Carlos knew he could only claim everything that once belonged to his late brother by adopting his orphaned son. Shaken by his father's loss, Lucas went with his uncle, guessing little about what was in store for him. "We are getting late. Can you make it fast, kiddo?" Carlos told Lucas when he was laying the wreath on his father's grave at the funeral. Carlos grabbed Lucas's hand and led him to the car. His heart still seethed with anger for his late brother that he didn't even want to stand there a minute more. Lucas then arrived at his uncle's large mansion, like the ones he'd seen and read about in books. It looked Gothic for its age, a modern splendor that lacked care and maintenance. When Lucas stepped into his uncle's house, he did not get a warm, homely feeling. Toys and cars were scattered on the floor as Luis, his 2-year-old cousin, stopped playing video games and stalked Lucas with a grim, unpleasant stare. Carlos had lost his wife in a car crash years ago and lived with Luis in their house far from a cluttered neighborhood. It was close to dinner, and Lucas was hungry. He remembered his dog Max, who would always sit beside him, waiting for him to toss a treat whenever he ate. He worriedly looked around for him, but he was not there. "Where's my dog, Max?" "You didn't bring him home?" "My son is allergic to pets, so I sent Max to an animal shelter. He must be doing fine there. Don't worry about him." Tears rose in Lucas's eyes. He missed Max, but trusted his uncle when he told him he would be fine at the shelter. He then dragged the chair to sit for the meal, but Carlos suddenly stopped him. "What are you doing, child?" "I'm going to eat. Didn't your father teach you any manners? This is my house, and I have my own rules, and you must obey me, kiddo," Carlos said in a stern, wicked tone. Locus didn't understand and stood still. "What are you waiting for? Bring us the plates and set the table. I will give you food and shelter as long as you are grateful to me. I'm your uncle, and I deserve respect, considering how your father ruined my life. Now, Gio, bring thee food from Daktchen and pilate it." Locus's heart shuddered. He was frightened and ran into the kitchen, tearing up. Nobody had been so rude to him before. He set the table with food and desserts and then ate quietly. Later that night, Carlos showed Locus his room, a small, dim-lit storeroom crowded with old cartons and waste items. His bed was in a corner, with a small table to keep a water bottle and a lamp. It was not charming like Locus's beautiful and spacious bedroom in his former house. The core mattress itched his skin. The smell of dust and mold made him cough. Locus made his bed and curled up but couldn't sleep. He pressed his face on the windowsill and cried, reminiscing about his heavenly life with his father and Max. Locus's life was so beautiful until that bright, sunny Sunday morning. The reflection of the cloudless blue sky sparkled in his big brown eyes as his father braided his hair on their porch. Fwit Locus' piercing whistle shrilled through the morning air as Roger came running with a frisbee in his mouth. "Mommy, are we going to the zoo today? And how about your favorite cookies and cream at Aunt Poppy's after that?" His mom laughed. "Yippee!" shouted Locus. "Hey, Roger, watch out!" Katie ran screaming as Locus splashed water from the garden hose on his mom and dog. They then drove off with Roger to the zoo and then to the ice cream parlor, placing bets on who would finish an entire ice cream tub in 5 minutes. They drove past the sun-kissed street, singing along to Elvis's "It's Now or Never" classic playing on their car stereo. It was one of the best Sundays Locus had ever had. If he only knew he would have to wait for a very long time for another happy weekend in his life. "Mommy, I miss you. Why did you leave me?" Locus cried, returning to the moment. "I want to see you. I know you're with Daddy in heaven. Send Roger to me. He's all I have now." "Did he eat, Mommy?" "I don't like Aunt Carla. She's making me cry. She's so rude to me." When Locus opened his eyes, it was already morning. He'd cried himself to sleep. He gently rubbed his sleepy eyes and looked around. His mom was not there holding a tray of his favorite chocolate milk and cookies. It hurt Locus even more. As time passed, he got used to his new life. He did the dirty dishes every morning and cleaned the dining table before leaving for school. Those hours in the classroom were the only peaceful time Locus had for himself. He started isolating himself from friends and spent every minute he got for himself. He didn't like Carla picking him up from school and missed the beautiful rides he enjoyed with his mother. There were no pleasant weekends again. Saturdays and Sundays turned into nightmares for Locus. Carla and Anna spent their Sundays mostly in elegant restaurants and amusement parks. But they never took Locus along. Instead, he was tasked with all the household chores. Carla created a timetable for Locus duties on Sundays. His day would start with doing the dirty dishes and then cleaning. The smelly rags and leftovers on the dishes disgusted Locus, but he still did everything without even being taught to do such things. He had to wash and scrub the floor and then rake dry leaves in the garden. Before he could take a break to relax, it would already be past afternoon. Everybody must learn to work hard from an early age. Carla constantly advised Locus, but she had exempted her own daughter Anna from that piece of wisdom. Anna did nothing at home and always needed Locus' help, even to tie her shoelaces or keep her smelly boots on the shoe rack. She was such a lazy girl, and she left no stone unturned in making his cousin's life miserable. Locus had no choice but to obey them. He always returned home from school to deal with some new tantrum Anna threw, but he never complained or brought it to his aunt's notice. Locus knew it would be useless because Carla always sided with her daughter. He continued to put in his best fight every day. He endured his aunt's stern and cold attitude, but Anna was unbearable, and her hatred for Locus reached new heights day by day. These are the action figures my mommy got from New York. What did you do, Anna? Locust cried when he saw Anna had broken all his action figures. Back off, Shorty. Look what I'm going to do to that huge teddy bear you have. It's in the cellar. Go save it if you can. Anna wickedly grinned. Locust burst into tears and ran into the cellar to find his teddy bear. It was his last gift from his late dad. But once he got down to the basement, Anna locked him inside. She had lied. There was no teddy bear in the cellar, and it was one of her wicked pranks. Anna, open the door. Anna, please. I'm scared. It's dark. Please, open the door, Locust cried. But Anna turned a deaf ear and turned on the music to deafen Locust's loud cries. Anna, there are RATs in here. Please, I am scared. Open the door. Locust banged on the door and cried. His hands hurt, but there was nobody to help him. When Locust woke up later, he was in his bed. Carla had found him in the cellar after she returned from work. But she neither warned her son nor showed any concern for Locust. She behaved as if it were normal for kids to play pranks and lock each other in the basement. The ongoing friction between Anna and Locust did not end there. Another nightmare was on Locust's way that day, and it was so horrible that he had no choice but to reach out to his dead mother for help. That evening, Anna was already in a terrible mood. Hey, wash my soiled boots. I have to wear them for horse riding next week. Locust was so exhausted and had been waiting for the break to nap, so he refused to do it. Anna, who hated being turned down, was beyond frustrated. How dare you say no to me, she fumed. She remembered how annoyed Locust was when she had cut his action figure's hair. Anna then grabbed Locust's hair and cut it with scissors. Anna, what did you do? Locust burst into tears and ran to his room. His hair was his late mother's love, smooth and silky ocean waves bouncing on your shoulders. Katie often told Locust whenever she ruffled his hair, it was gone. His beautiful hair was trimmed to a mess. Mommy, why are Aunt Carla and Anna so cruel to me? What did I do? Please help me, Mommy. I cannot live in this house anymore. Locust buried his face into his pillow and cried. Then, a strange idea struck him. Why didn't I think of this earlier? He exclaimed and took a notepad and pen. He began writing a letter to his late mother. Mommy will read this and help me for sure. Locust began spilling his heart out on the paper. Dear Mommy, I do not like to live in this home. Aunt Carla, Anna are terrible. They make me do all the work. My hands hurting Mommy. My nails broke. Anna took scissors and cut my hair. I look ugly. I want to run away far. Roger is in animal shelter. Don't know where. Aunt Carla sold our home. Our beds, table, flower pots, paintings all gone. She is not nice, Mommy. Take me from her. Please, Mommy. Will you send me a letter back? With love, Locust. Locust tucked the letter addressed to my dear Mommy in heaven into an envelope and couldn't wait to post it in the mailbox on the way to his school the next day. The following morning, Locust left for school after finishing his work. Carla did not drop him as punishment for disobeying Anna, so Locust had to walk to school, which was pretty close by. He used it to his best advantage and posted the letter in the mailbox. Later that afternoon, after school, he ran to the mailbox to check if his letter had been taken. My letter is gone. It's on the way to Mommy. He jumped in delight. Days passed, but Locust was yet to get a reply. He was hurt and disappointed. It must have got lost on the way to heaven. I'll write another one tonight. Despite being 7 years old, the circumstances around Locust did not allow him to differentiate between reality and fantasy. He was heartbroken and felt his only hope was reaching out to his late mother. He penned another letter to his mom and put it in the mailbox the next day. He found the envelope missing again, but nothing happened. No help nor any response arrived. Locust was distraught but continued posting the letters. At some point, he lost hope of getting an answer. He stopped believing in miracles, but never stopped checking out the mailbox daily after school. Deep inside, his heart told him to await a reply. One day, when Locust least expected it, he found a letter in the mailbox. It could be for anyone, his mind warned him. But Locust's heart told otherwise. He took the letter and was stunned when he saw it was addressed to him. To little Lucas. Read the words on the envelope as Lucas hastily tore it open. The words he read were unbelievable as tears gushed into his eager eyes. Hi, Lucas. Your mother cannot write back to you, but you can consider me as her messenger, and I want you to know that you are not alone. I want to help you. I will be waiting near your school gate tomorrow. I will be wearing a gray-blue dress with a postal label. See you soon, and be strong, all right? If it's not my mommy, then who is this? Lucas thought disappointedly. He could not wait to see his mother's messenger. The following day after school, Lucas anxiously stood near the gate, looking around. Then he noticed a man in a gray-blue suit waving at him. Are you the messenger my mommy sent? He asked as Larry, the local mailman, smiled at him and nodded. Not exactly, but I read all your letters, Larry said, observing the disappointment on Lucas's face. You didn't see my mommy? He was disheartened. No, I didn't because we don't get to see those in heaven, Larry added. We cannot send or receive letters from them, but I'm sure your mother knows everything and worries about you. Lucas had never felt so downhearted before. After a momentous silence, Larry said something that lit his teary eyes with a sliver of hope. I did not meet your mother, nor do I know her, but I'm sure she sent me to help you. Let's go to your aunt's house. She will not mistreat you anymore. Trust me, Lucas. Larry's words felt like the brightest ray of sunshine bursting through a dark cloud. Lucas arrived home with Larry, and Carla was shocked at seeing him with the mailman at the doorstep. Why are you so late today? And what's he doing with you? Do we have any mail today? She questioned. Mrs. Reggie, can we please talk for a minute? There's something I want to tell you, Larry chimed in. Carla led him into the living room. Yes, what is it? Mrs. Reggie, if you don't stop ill-treating your nephew, I'll have to call Child Protective Services on you. Carla was stunned and stared right into Lucas's eyes. Oh, I don't understand what you're saying. I think there's been a mistake. Lucas was pampered and spoiled by his mother. I just tried to put him on the track by teaching him some manners, she said, rolling her eyes. Come on, why would I treat my nephew badly? He's no different from my son. See you around, Mrs. Reggie. It was nice meeting you. Take care, Lucas. Be bye, buddy. You can always meet me at the post office if there's anything all right. Lucas nodded, and after Larry left, he witnessed the horrific side of his aunt. It was 100 times more terrifying than what he'd seen before. How dare you complain about me to that mailman? You ungrateful little imp, Carla yelled at Lucas, who wanted to run, but couldn't. Carla grabbed his hand and dragged him to the dark cellar. She knew Lucas was frightened of darkness and rats and decided to teach him a lesson for disobeying her. Stay right here. How ungrateful you are. Just like your mother. No bed or blanket until you come crying to me, begging for an apology. Get the hell out of my sight, you dirty imp. You will live in the cellar. It's your new room. Sleep with the rats until you learn to appreciate me. Carla slammed the door shut as Lucas cried and pleaded with her to let him out. Aunt Carla, I'm sorry. Please, let me out. I'm scared. It's dark. I can hear noises down here. Please, it's scary. Let me out. Lucas banged on the door and sat on the stairs, frightened and hungry. He could not stand the moldy smell, and the squeaking rats terrified him. It was dark, and the little brightness that faintly lit the basement was from a beam of light penetrating through a small hole in the door. Lucas pressed his eyes onto it and looked for Carla and Anna, but nobody was there. They were fast asleep in their cozy bedrooms. Mommy, please do something. I want to go from here. You always told me stories of miracles. Why is there no miracle to help me, Mommy? Ugly little rat. This should teach him a lesson. Let him spend just one night in the cellar, and he will regret messing up with me. I'll teach him what gratitude is, little imp. Carla thought and slept, guessing very little about how unforgettable the morning would be for her. The following day, Lucas woke up to a loud creaking sound. He had fallen asleep on the stairs and rose, thinking his aunt had finally come to take him out. But when the door fully opened, a strange woman was standing there. It was not his aunt. "Hey, Lucas, can you come out of that darkness on your own, or do you need help?" the lady asked. Lucas slowly got up and crawled his way up the stairs. It was cold down there, and his joints were stiff. He grabbed the woman's hand and came out, only to see his aunt and cousin answering a Child Protective Service investigator. As it turned out, Larry knew he could not trust Carla again, so he had called CPS that morning before leaving for work and had requested them to pay a surprise visit to Lucas's house. Lucas had tried his best to turn the officers away by telling them he was fine and asleep in his room, but they checked the whole house and finally found him locked in the basement. While Lucas's caretaker wanted to teach him a lesson, that one night he locked him in the cellar was enough evidence to deprive him custody of the boy. The person then took Lucas away in their car to drop him where he truly deserved to be. "Where are we going?" Lucas was curious. "To your new family, sweetie, your foster family. I'm sure you'll like them." Lucas was surprised by the sudden string of miracles in his life. He could not wait to see who would be his new foster family. His wait and curiosity ended in the most beautiful way when the car pulled over minutes later. "It's you." Lucas shouted joyfully and ran toward Larry and his wife, Amanda, who was waving at him from their porch. "Oh my God, Roger!" Lucas shrieked and burst into tears when his dog Roger jumped on him and pushed him onto the grass. He licked his face, and they cuddled and rolled in delight. Larry found and brought Roger home from the animal shelter after reading about him in Lucas's letter. Larry and Amanda were moved to tears at seeing such a heartwarming scene. A few months later, they adopted Lucas and introduced him to their other two kids, Sean and Shelley. The mailman's family was not as wealthy as Lucas's, but their home had abundant joy and love. Meanwhile, Lucas's caretaker tasted his own medicine for wronging his nephew. He was sent a court notice for illegally selling Lucas's house without his consent. He spent his time and age repaying his debts, while Lucas moved on from the heavy scars his caretaker had inflicted on his heart. Several years passed, and Lucas, now 18, decided to work at Child Protective Services to help children facing domestic neglect. He was determined to fight for their justice and bring them to light from the darkness, just like how he was helped out.